Hey folks, this is Ben from Road to VR, and I am here at the Oculus Game Days where we're checking out a whole bunch of fun games. Among them is Dead and Buried, on which Ryan is one of the designers. Ryan, you told me that this game had an interesting inception in that you actually didn't know that touch was coming down the road, and now it's like it's got to have touch, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So the game started out as a Gear VR slash Rift title. We're using the gamepad or the touchpad to have just a one-on-one street duel. It was always multiplayer from the beginning. At least that was the grand plan. And then touch came along, and it was just a natural fit. So you're grabbing your guns from your holsters, you're reaching out, grabbing other weapons, you're throwing dynamite. You're actually aiming with your touch controllers and your hands, and it was just a natural fit for the game.
So, and you said you'd actually started it as a Gear VR project. Do you see it ever going there now, or do you see it possibly continue to be there, or not until there's motion controllers there too?
That's a good question. I mean, right now it's definitely just touch. If it did go to Gear VR or something, then maybe the IP itself would, but taking it from where it's at now to mobile on Gear VR, it'd be a pretty big project and undertaking. So right now it's just touch only.
So at Connect, which was the first time that we got to see it, and I believe the first time it was revealed, we saw a single-player shooting gallery type scenario. Here, what are you showing?
Here we're showing a 2 versus 2 multiplayer in the old saloon. So it's the good guys versus the bad guys. You pick your character, and you're hiding behind the saloon bar. You're hiding behind barrels and boxes, and you have to physically hide. Like, if you are standing out in the open, you're going to get shot. You're not going to do very well. So you need to actually get behind cover, duck down, aim around the corner, and shoot the other guy. So a little bit different than shooting a stationary target. You're shooting another player. So a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, and in addition to now being multiplayer, now there's more guns. Can you talk about the guns that we have access to here?
Sure. So we have your classic 6-shooter. So everyone starts with that. They're always in your holsters, so you never lose them. So in true Western fashion, when the match starts, you actually have to pull your holster, the guns from your holsters and shoot. We also have a shotgun called the Punisher, which it has 2 shots in it. It's very powerful. We also have dynamite that you can pick up and throw. We have a gun called the One Shot, which is just one large weapon, and it has one giant shell in it, and it's basically a grenade launcher. So we have a few others, but those are like the main ones that people are kind of gravitating to and picking up. There's a lot of times we designed the weapons to sort of accommodate the gameplay. We noticed a lot of people were able to get behind cover and hide. Luckily, people picked up that concept very quickly. So we designed weapons to actually get people to get out of cover. You know, let's launch a grenade back there, let's throw dynamite, and get them to move or take them out if they've been camping for a long time.
And so for your default weapons, which you're going to spend the most time with, which is your pistol, you have that flip out and spin and flip back in reload mechanism, and it works. You know, it works just like you'd expect.
Sure.
What is it that's so satisfying about that?
I don't know. I think it's just, we try and reduce the mental load on the player, especially in VR and touch in general, because it's a whole new type of control mechanism. So flipping in and flipping out makes a lot of sense. It's fun, it's rewarding. You hear the click as the chambers come out, and you click it back. For the shotgun, you actually flip down, flip back. We don't have you pressing a button or R button on the keyboard like you would in a traditional shooter. So it's a bit more interactive. We're trying to put more movement into the player, have them move around, gestures, stuff like that.
And so you talked about hiding behind cover, and that's a huge part of the game. People are down on their knees and peeking through cracks. And you're doing that with only 3 points of tracking, the head and the 2 hands, and yet you have to animate the whole body.
Yes.
And as I was saying earlier, when I played it, I didn't even really notice that would be so hard because it worked pretty darn well. You said you spent some time on this. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah, it's actually really tricky problem to try and solve. We spent a long time actually working on it. We went out and contracted someone who's to work specifically on this problem. So like you said, we have the head and the hands, but we don't know what your feet are doing. We don't know what your torso is doing. And in a game where you're hiding behind cover, either you're leaning behind cover or you're stepping to the side. We don't know what you're doing. So we're trying to make educated guesses as to what you are doing. So if you lean slowly or you move your head slowly, we think that you're leaning. If you move it fast, we think that you did a step. So we try and drive the character around like that. Because the last thing you want in a competitive shooter is, I'm behind cover, but yet I still died. and that's just not fun. So we tried really hard to make that believable. Um, and it's also really cool to see the other players like actually peeking out of cover and then peeking back. It worked out pretty well.
And it seems to work almost uniquely well in this setting because they have that kind of cowboy
It's
stroll
true.
to them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it kind of works. And the style of the game also is a little bit cartoony. It's not ultra realistic. So that kind of lends itself to helping us in this situation. So.
And we had 4 characters to choose from, and I was surprised at how far along the art style is on there. Do you see character customization? The guns were really neat and unique. Do you see weapon customization?
We've definitely tossed around the idea. It's something that we just have to figure out what the grand plan and scope of the game is. We definitely are going to have more characters, a lot of diversity in the characters, diversity in the weapons and such like that. Try and make it. This is an example of like you want to be able to just try out all these new weapons and be these different characters. Customization could play a part, but we're not 100% sure if we're going to do that yet.
Yeah. And getting back just slightly to how you're animating the characters with intelligent guesses, Oculus has a history of releasing. There's a lip syncing plugin and things like that. Any plans that this might be a useful thing for other developers that you'd put out?
It's definitely not official yet, but we talk about all of that. Like everything we do internally, we want to share with developers. We want to try and get them as much information as we can. I would like to release stuff as well. So I hope that we can get to where we can do that as long as it is easy for developers to use. So.
And at the Kinect version, we were talking about the ability to spin your gun around and do tricks and show style in the game, and I think that's super cool. In this version, you said at the current state of things, you had to sacrifice that for ease of use and picking up other weapons around the environment. Do you foresee bringing back some of that stylishness, allowing the players to kind of project themselves into the game?
Absolutely. We just, as you said, we took it out for just ease of use. We actually added, the ability to grab and pick up weapons and stuff like that. So we want to try and implement that back into the gameplay, and maybe it's not just to show off. It's also maybe it powers up a weapon, or you can cock the hammer back and do something different there. Anything that makes you feel more powerful or more awesome, we're going to push. So we'll definitely bring that stuff back.
Yeah, actually, I was noticing the thumbstick itself might be a great substitute for the hammer. It's like right in the right spot on the pistol. So interesting. I really like those different interactions with the different weapons. They all play differently. They reload differently. Let's talk about game modes. So Kinect, last year we saw the single-player shooting gallery, kind of a training, maybe challenges or something. Here we're seeing 2v2 multiplayer, and locomotion is as far as you can move, but there's no walking around. When you die, you respawn elsewhere. Do you see new modes, ways of moving beyond just dying and then appearing in a new place?
We've definitely talked about different types of locomotion, things like maybe you and another buddy are going through an old street and AI are coming out. In that case, you could go to a specific spot, stay in that cover spot, and then when you clear out the area, you can go to a third-person cutscene and move your characters through. That's just one idea. We've prototyped some of this, but we haven't set a direction as to what we're actually going to do. There's also the idea of, when you die, maybe you get to pick your spawn point and move that way. So you have more of a strategic approach to where you're going to go. Other game modes, we've explored the classic 1-versus-1 street duel. We have that up and running, and it's... Yep, just a quick draw, and it's definitely a lot different than this, where you have like a certain time or kill count that you're aiming for as a team, but just the one-on-one quick draw is definitely going to be something. And then back to the target shooting, we want to try and implement multiplayer into just about every mode. So if you can do it in single player, then I think we should have multiplayer versions of that. So even just looking across the way and shooting targets with a buddy, either competing against them or trying to clear them all out in a really quick manner together, I think are both really fun and easy things that we can do. So.
Tell me about the scope of this game. So Hero Bound, which you and your partner worked on at Oculus, you kind of made a fun game, and then it's a fun, smaller game, and then spun out to another developer, and they made an even bigger and grander version. Do you see the same thing happening here, or Is this something that you might want to develop further yourselves internally?
We've had a lot of fun working on this. We had a lot of fun working on Hero Bound. There's a lot of exciting things that we want to work on as well. So it's possible that the scope of the game is sort of kind of up in the air as far as we definitely have a plan for everything we want to do. We know what levels we want to do, the game modes, how many characters and weapons, and we're just pushing towards that. So we're a small team internally, and we have some really good help, but we are still really tiny. So the amount of stuff we can actually get done is still, kind of based around that.
Yeah.
So.
And now, when is the broader world going to get a chance to actually play this? Is that known yet?
We're aiming for this to be available for Touch launch. So.
And what is the current notion of timing for the Touch launch?
Second half of 2016.
Will we ever see more than 2v2, would you say?
We've explored 3 versus 3 as well. So, like, we have a level that's a train station where the train rolls through, 3 people on one side, 3 people on the other side of the depot. You're waiting for the train to pass, and then when it passes, you guys shoot. So we've explored, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3. We have actually tried 1 versus 1 in the saloon, and it's fun, but it's not as fun as having someone on your team. So we've definitely learned that. So even while free-for-all would be easy to do, it seems a lot more fun when you actually have someone on your team. You can look over and see them hiding behind cover, and it's a special moment that I've never really experienced until VR came about. So
yeah, there's definitely a sense of being pinned down under cover, and if your teammate has the angle, I mean, they're in a position to really help you out, and you have voice chat going in there. Yes. Are people making use of that and playing strategically?
It's about half and half. I would say the people who have played more tend to really talk more. Obviously, if you're playing with someone you know, you talk a lot more, and if you are able to do that, then you definitely have an advantage because you're able to kind of plan when to respawn. Hey, I'm behind this piece of cover. Hey, that person's up top. Let's try and get him first because he's been hiding there forever. So let's center our fire on that. So it comes into play for sure.
And tell me briefly about the inspiration for the style of the game. It is this almost sorcery, fantastical, Western, arcadey style. Where does that come from?
We definitely want everything to be fun, colorful, accessible. You're still shooting things. We don't want to do anything gruesome or anything like that. So it's very fun and arcadey. So the style kind of came from that overall high-level design, and then because the Wild West can be just inherently cliche and a lot of brown and just sort of not very exciting, and I mean, it's kind of the same across all different types of Westerns. So we try to implement like a supernatural overtone to the game. So we can there's a ghost character that talks to you, and we have more of that. We can kind of do more with the weapons. We can get away with a grenade launcher. We can just sort of break outside of those bounds. And this is virtual reality, so we want to break outside of reality, but also sort of make you feel like you're in this other place. So.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We are looking forward to seeing more of the game. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.